I get a pretty good laugh when I see Triple H judging talent nowadays. I mean, especially given the way he started in the WWF. It's a pretty big misconception in the business that a tryout really indicates if a guy is going to be a star or not. I know it always takes guys a bit of time to get a feel for things, and sort of find their way, you know. I remember in the early 90s Vince was pretty desperate for new stars. Hogan was sort of winding things down, and Warrior was pretty unreliable. Vince was arriving at the arena each night, hoping that maybe he could spot a new face that was going to be the next guy. I remember he gave the merchandise team a photo of Sid, and told them to notify Pat Patterson if they saw anyone like him. I remember when Triple H got started. He was at the arena and he had a pretty good size about him, which right away was a check mark they look for. When the new guys would be there to sort of show their stuff, they'd have them wait by a separate door with a marking on it. Guys that weren't as tall as the marking were right away directed to the jobber's closet. Triple H was looking pretty nervous standing around, waiting for Bruce or Pat to give him some direction on what to expect. He just stood there where everyone was dropping their rental cars off. Welcoming the new guys was something I always particularly enjoyed doing. Even back to my time at Stampede. My dad Stu would be stretching these big football players every day, and after my dad would usually have me work with them, even though I was younger and smaller. He used to say a worker who is stiff with the promoter's son is too stiff to be on the card, which is just sort old school shooter's way of saying he didn't want anyone who might take liberties with the other guys. I walked up to Triple H and he shook my hand, and he gave me a bit of the wrestler's handshake, which right away I knew he'd an easy hand. I asked where he came from, who he wanted to work with. That sort of thing. I even talked about the weather, which is a pretty Canadian thing to do, I think. Triple H was pretty earnest. He right away asked if he could help with my bags, or if he could grab me a coffee. I looked over and saw Davey was having trouble with the rental car's trunk. I excused myself and walked over. Davey was just pounding on the trunk, getting pretty flustered. "We're fucked. I can't find the keys and all my gear's in there," as he wiped the sweat off his brow. I mentioned to Davey he had the keys in his hand already. He just shook his head and looked pretty embarrassed. Just then I heard a bit of shouting and I saw Sean shouting at Triple H as Triple H trailed behind the clique holding about 4 to 5 of their bags. Sean just marched on, chewing gum, shouting over, "Pick up the pace, motherfucker. I can't work without my gear. And if you can't even carry our bags, you sure as fuck can't carry a match here." Which I just knew wasn't going to be a good influence on the new guy.